And Joe was one of the brightest, most dedicated teachers that Brentwood has ever had.
I wish I would have known him.
And Joe put himself in situations that put him at risk. And of course, what happens is it flashes back. And then it was, okay, do we want to deal with this whole issue now, which will take us away from the educational issues? And Joe's response was, look, let me leave, you take care of business. And selfishly, at the time, I said, okay, Joe, thank you. But he said, and Ken said it, and others said it too, that that was the first nail in the coffin, because we didn't stand and fight right there. Several years later, there were other issues. There were allegations against other staff members that turned out to be absolutely nothing. But it was a parade of witnesses and board hearings and open hearings of allegations of behavior, of sexual misconduct, of drugs, selling drugs, fornication in the hallways. And I'm quoting the affidavits that were filed. And the state arbitrator came down.
Stuff that we always heard.
Stuff that was, but nothing, absolutely nothing. And then Conrad was the next one to be threatened. They were going to bring him up on charges. Your year, there was an evening school. Remember, remember the literature course? The literature course that was offered at night. We had to read a book a week, and Laura Morelli had offered her home as a place to have a course. You go over there and they lit the fireplace and you read a book a week and discussed the book. You had to read the book in order to be there in the discussion and so on. There was a technicality with the secretary, one of the secretaries, not Josephine, but the other secretary, Jean, in the front office, had typed something, and she had made a typo. When the board got a copy of this thing with one word that was off, it looked as if he was being insubordinate because they told him that you can't have the class. It's off school property. If we allow you to do that, they're going to want to do it in high school, our insurance risk and everything else. Can't do it. You can't have it in Laura's house. Meanwhile, we used to have it in Milt's house all the time before that, but now suddenly couldn't do that because board members were objecting. And the secretary, when she typed something, she made one word, I don't remember what the word was, but it was a typo. She felt very bad afterward because as a result of that typo, Conrad had an excuse, and now they were going to bring him up on charges of insubordination, which meant he was going to be drummed out of the profession. Truth of the matter is, he would have beat that. Had he fought it, there's no way, there was nothing. It was all smoke and mirrors and nothing. But Conrad was 55 years old. He was as tired as he's as tired as you are right now with all of this stuff that goes on. And his response was, what do I need this for? My poor father is going to have a heart attack seeing what happened with his military son. It's time to leave. They've made me an offer. I'll sell a house. I'll buy a new car. We'll have a new life. So he went back to the academy where he came from and taught down there for a few years as a guidance counselor and had a very nice retirement with travel and stuff. But that was him. Everybody had their own story. One by one by one by one by one. And gradually the move forced them to move back to the high school was the thing that killed it. So it's a long story, and it was political, and it was economic, and it was the 80s, Paul. It was the United States of America during the 1980s, the Reagan years, economic cutbacks, oil embargo, oil shortage, the religious right coming into positions of power all over the country, the extremists, going after back to basics movement, all of that stuff happened, and the alternatives were considered frills and expendable.
360s too.
Yeah. There's no one explanation, but you know what? Now it's come full circle, and here we are in the 90s, and people are saying, gee, we got to find some alternatives. They're not going to call them alternatives, to be sure.
That's right.
No, they won't call them alternatives. They'll find another word. We have to find some options or some choices.
Choices, yeah. Because actually, it's true. Because even with my work, I don't want to call it alternative. Yeah. We're out of that, that mindset of calling these types of medicine alternative, because it's not.
Yes.
It's not alternative.
Yes. It's we had it. You guys are now, no matter what you're doing in your lives, with your lives, you're all doing great. And it's so good to hear all of the various shades, because what you've done is you've taken it with you, and you each. What you're saying is everybody's using it. Everybody's using it. Now, what else would any teacher want to hear 20 years later? what else would any school district want to know?
Really.
Was our investment a good investment?
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean,
Absolutely. Very important place for Maslow-Toffler for me. And for a lot of people. Maslow is a very important place.
I'm delighted that you come. I'm delighted to hear your stories, and I hope that if you can come back, come to any session, because every week there's different people that show up. And the 5th, if anybody is curious about getting together with other people, I'll be glad to share.
And to listen to me, and it had the biggest impression on me. It was just the weirdest thing. And when we all got back together afterwards, we started talking about why we'd like to come. I didn't say anything. And I carried around with me how disappointed I thought he was in me for not saying anything. It's really weird, because the other day I was trying to remember his name, and it hit me. But for you to say that, because of that, and he has no idea, because he wouldn't, I mean, we didn't go to school together or anything.
What a
But
great
him,
gift.
and then the fact that, and then the fact that my mother was such a big supporter of this. That's why I want to bring her on the 5th.
Yes.
Those two things are like the biggest reasons why, but that is the weirdest thing you said, because I wasn't going to say anything at all, but it was just the weirdest thing. The fact that he, not only listened to what I had to say and talked to me, showed us around and everything, but it just, to me, I felt like he was so disappointed that I didn't say anything that day. And it was almost like I had to come and prove that I could talk in front of a crowd of people and really get involved in fitting. Isn't that the weirdest thing? That's really weird. I'm really glad you brought his name up. That's so
When we get together on the 5th, I don't know where it will be, but as of now, it's going to be here. I would like us to close with an activity, something like we used to do a long time ago. And it has very much to do, what I'm thinking of, I just got the idea now when you said that, Ron, it had a lot to do with the way our lives, now this person from MT, whoever, I don't know if you know who wrote it.
realizing how they deal with things.
Through retrospective. And the fact that we could create our own school, that idea was so fascinating. And I do remember Alan Mejia creating this one exercise for us to do, and we were in the auditorium. It was the whole class, 11th and 12th graders. That was the first year you accepted juniors. And, which I wasn't too happy about, but it's like, why not last year? I could have been there. But anyway, he made us have 2 circles, and the 2 circles went in different directions while that song was playing, We May Never Pass This Way Again. There's Longings of Messina. And I just always remember that, Seals and Croft.
I tried to find that record for this.
We
I
May
wanted
Never
to put
Pass This
on,
Way
but-
Again.
Yes.
And they were passing each other, and that song was playing. It was such a great exercise.
Somebody's